Hi, I'm AJ Rohde, Senior Partner on the Discover team at Thoma Bravo, and this is Beyond the Deal, a bonus episode of Thoma Bravo's Behind the Deal. I'm here today with the President and CEO of HCSS, Steve McGough, and my man, George Jaber, a principal who has been with me for 10 years and played an instrumental role in this investment. Steve, I'll start with you. Tell our listeners a little bit about the company HCSS.
Well, HCSS is our 39th year in business. We develop software for the construction industry, mainly the heavy highway, heavy civil contractors. And it's mainly operational software. So you can think from a construction company, estimating, job costing, dispatching, safety, plans, equipment maintenance, telematics, everything operationally that a company would do. And then we tie to 45 some odd accounting ERP systems, QuickBooks for our smallest customers, and to SAP for our largest.
When you look back at your time, and feel free to jump in here too, with HCSS and TB over the last 3 years, what has surprised you about our partnership, your first experience with private equity? Give us the down and the dirty.
Probably how helpful a well-functioning board of directors can be. For someone like
Is that what you call us?
for someone like myself, because I'm a big fan of John Wooden's, and he always used to say, "Play a game you can win," which means play to your strengths. And I think that the board does a really good job of holding us accountable and making sure that we've always got good line of sight as to what our strengths are and making sure we have that nailed down completely. And then probably what surprised me even more, because I didn't give it a lot of thought, but Thoma Bravo owns so many software companies of varying sizes, and you guys sit on a number of boards. So you keep us honest on our processes, and more importantly, give us a lot of feedback on things that might cause us issues as we continue to scale the business.
It's two-way, though, too. I mean, Steve is a no BS kind of guy. He always says it how it is.
Very
if it's
true.
wrong, we're going to fix it. If it's not working, we're going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
It's the Texan way.
And Steve and Mike really implored us early on to understand what made the company special. And you were very clear up front, like, let's understand, let us help you understand the rhythm of the company before we start to implement some of the process.
Speaking of leadership style, Steve, in an interview, you once said, true leadership starts with selfless service, respect, loyalty, and integrity. Could you talk a little bit about your leadership style?
Yeah, George, I believe that my leadership style was really cemented around two distinct times in my life. One, you just mentioned a number of the core values of Texas A&M, and so from my time there, a lot of the leadership traits that I have were developed then. But probably more importantly, from a modeling standpoint, when I was young, probably middle school age, my dad had his own business before he passed away, and I would ride with him in the summers because a lot of his customers were across Texas, and I saw firsthand how he had genuine interest in people, treated them with respect and dignity, and it didn't matter if it was a janitor sweeping the floor at the company or the CEO of the business. He treated them the same, and that always stuck with me.
Tell our listeners what the 3 rings are. This is something that really stands out with the company, and I want to make sure everyone understands.
We answer the phone in 3 rings or less, 24 hours a day, to the person that can help you.
What happens when I call and the issue is not an HCSS issue?
Well, there's a lot
My printer's not working, my Microsoft's not working. How do you handle that? And do you just kick them back to
We
HP?
answer it.
Answer it.
Our people
How
in
do they do
general,
that?
they take the call, and so you'd be surprised every year. We take a look, and there's a lot of questions that get answered in and outside of, and sometimes they're quite honest with it. Look, you're the only person I know I can call, because if I called the help desk at Best Buy or something, I'd be on hold for 3 hours. So that's we just take them.
Yeah. You know, before we buy a company, we talked to about 100 customers. And I remember when we were doing diligence, Caroline Jorleen, our vice president on the deal, and she's also a board member.
Superstar.
We were on a call together, and we heard one customer talk about how HCSS fixed his printer problem.
There you go.
It wasn't the software, it was the printer, and he went through and helped them fix it. And
That's good.
That's when you really understand, the technical support function.
Special connection. Yeah.
You can never get in trouble at HCSS by helping the customer.
Yeah.
Steve, what's something about HCSS that no one knows that you wish they knew?
Well, there's a couple. From a people standpoint, it's a great place for people to build their careers. if you look, a lot of people have moved through the ranks and advanced their careers at HCSS. But I think also so many people don't realize how our software fits other vertical industries. And while we're seen as a heavy civil, heavy highway, and we're number one in that space, we're quickly becoming number one in the power, communication, utility markets as well. Yep. So if you are a self-performing contractor, meaning that you have crews that you send out to do production type work, there's a good chance we've got a product that fits you.
It's true. It's not just roads, bridges, highways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and everyone thinks about roads and bridges when they think about HCSS. It's so much more than that.
We love that type of work too.
Yeah.
But we do fit other markets, and we've got a lot of customers in those as well.
And the same customers are branching out their own business into some of those areas too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Can we switch gears a second to talk about scale?
Okay.
Scaling up, the challenges that come with scaling up, some of the considerations. You started at the company, I think it had 40 employees.
That's about right.
Right. Today we have over 500. Talk about scaling a company to that size and talk about some of your learnings.
Well, when you're scaling a software business, I learned really quick that your costs are in your people. So you talk about going from 40 to 500. I think it's important that you have a financial metric that's a gut check that's easy to see. And for me, especially when you're looking at hiring, speeding that up or slowing that down. And for me, that was always a revenue per employee. Strategically, or looking at the business itself, I always like to look and see from our customer's lens, what's going to be the same 5 years or 10 years from now, and pour 90% of your effort into innovating and making sure those products are successful in and around that. And it's a little counterintuitive because most people want to know what's going to change in 5 years or what's going to be different in 10 years from now. And we have such a connection with our customers. We want them to come back and we want to earn their business year after year. We want them to be able to want to do business with us over and over again. And so for me, that's been a recipe for success because no one's going to call me up 5 years from now and say, "Hey, Steve, I wish your estimating software would run a little slower." You know, if you think about it. So, and then probably just the last, and this is a big one. You have to over communicate to your employees and be transparent because. Like in 2008 and 2009, when the economy turned down, we had employees whose family members were being laid off or threats of being laid off. We were doing great, but they were anxious and there was a lot of anxiety. So we, instead of them wondering, "Hey, is this just going to be a knee-jerk reaction? If we slow down, I'm going to get laid off." We went in and put in some objective measures around here's exactly the 5 steps we'll take on a trailing 3-month net income, let's say. And so people understood. We never got to any of those. Actually, some of our best years were through that time. Quite frankly, it gives construction companies the ability to slow down and implement software. So it worked out for us. Those are probably the biggest.
But it's that bootstrap mindset.
You're so transparent with your employees too. True. I mean, you do the monthly
probably
meetings.
more so than everybody is comfortable with. But it's just part of the culture.
It starts with hiring the right people, though, too. True. You know, and I think you have a very simple method for finding the right employees. So can you tell our listeners what that is?
Well, when I interview someone, I always have to make the assumption that our people have already vetted them for their skill set. So I assume that that's done. And I'm really looking for 2 things, passion and grit. So from a passion standpoint, when I'm asking you questions about business or even your personal life, do you get excited about something? Do you light up? Do I see that spark in your eye? Because if you don't, you're going to show up to work with that same level of enthusiasm and personally, I think mediocrity is the biggest challenge for any business, especially smaller businesses, because if you allow it to creep in, and worse, if you allow it to stay, it'll crush you. Yeah. And then grit, just from the standpoint of people that have been through adversity in their life and come out the other side as a better individual, tend to do really well at our organization.
Yeah, for sure.
Steve, what's something that you wish you had known at the beginning of your career?
Oh, man, George, I'm sure there's plenty of them. But one, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. But you do have to make the room smarter by being there. And I think you do that even because you're never going to be the subject matter expert on a number of things, but you do need to be able to ask curious questions, probing questions. I think if you do that, you get all of the things that you need out of that conversation on the table. And I'll give you one other, and this is a big one for me, and that's work on things that are in your control. I have a picture of Ernest Shackleton's ship on my desk that's frozen in the ice, and his crew's playing soccer, and it just reminds me that Shackleton could have had his crew cut the ship out of the ice, but it's just going to refreeze that night. It's out of his control. So if I can work on the things I know that are in my control and quit worrying about the rest, I think if I'd have known that day one, I would have at least slept better. How about that?
You were always very prepared.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
AJ, what about you?
Me.
Something that you wish you had known early in your career.
Empowering young people is a really, really, really important and valuable capability that you're able to give someone in an organization. And in order to do that, you have to have confidence that those people are ready to make those decisions. And in order for that to be true, you as a manager and as a leader have to be there for those people at a very young age.
Yeah.
Accessible, open, honest.
Familiar,
flat organization. Have a nice tension, give and pull between advice and listening. And so when I was younger, I started a very hierarchical company, and I saw the opposite of that. And so as we've grown here as a firm, as you well know, we pride our institution on being able to empower and let you guys have agency over those decisions. In order to do that, I've got to be in there with you. You've got to be in there with Caroline. Caroline's got to be in there with Harrison.
Yeah.
And so that's a cultural element. And Orlando always was very generous of giving that to me. And so I think paying that down the line is really important. Steve is always there for his employees. The board meeting is a very flat discussion. Anybody can speak up. Those types of things I think are really important to an organization thriving.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
From that, it also breeds upon itself of the type of people you attract.
100%.
What would you be doing if you weren't in private equity?
Me?
What would your career look like?
I'd be a coach.
Would you?
Yeah. I coach a couple sports. I coach flag football and soccer and basketball for my kids. And, I probably tend to be a better coach of kids who are ready and want to win versus that first-time coach who is just trying to wrangle, a bunch of kids who are maybe a few of them are out to lunch or picking their nose. But I think that final push of focus, motivation, energy, excitement, kind of like that tough coach you always, you never wanted to love and you ended up loving. I think that's a role I feel pretty well. And if I weren't doing this in this world, I'd be doing the exact same thing, probably with the same jargon and the same pontification, just to a different set of humans, solving different problems. So that's probably what I'd be doing.
So, George, what about you? If you weren't in private equity, what would you be doing in a career?
I would want to run a company. And you build it for the future. You hire really good people. You empower them, just like we've talked about. And I'll be honest, I'm not that picky about what type of company it is. You'd want one that's integrated in the community, just like you all are in Sugar Land, and you'd want to grow it for 20 years.
You're such a curious guy. You'd be a student of no matter what you decide to do.
I would love it.
Yeah, you'd love it. You'd be great at it. Okay, now we love to give our listeners a little moment of levity here. So at the end of Beyond the Deal, we like to do what we call the rapid fire round. So these were not prepared questions for you, Steve. You just got to answer them on the fly. George is going to start.
No pressure.
And these are like a little personal, so feel free to dive into it, and we're going to rib you a little bit here. So George, you start with the first question.
Yeah, Steve, you made the mistake of telling us once that you used to be a power lifter. Give us your record for benching, deadlifting, and squatting.
Well, probably you're right. It was a mistake of telling you guys anything along those lines, but it's been almost 45 years ago. But from a squat standpoint, 622, bench 402, and deadlift around 586.
What a savage.
Yeah.
I'm going to be nicer
Been
to you.
a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
When you walk into your favorite Mexican restaurant, El Tiempo, what do they call you?
Oh, man, really? Well, they call me El Jefe, but it's not. But it's only because I'm the one that's paying.
You've earned that distinction with your credit card. Yeah. Can I ask one?
Yeah, go ahead.
you're a big football fan.
Yep.
Big Aggies fan.
Yep.
It's been a tough life.
It has been a tough life.
You have moments of positivity, but when will the Aggies next win an SEC title?
Would be their first, and hope's eternal. So like next year, we always start off the year with the goal of being a national champion.
Yep.
I guess the one way to get there is to win the SEC championship. So I'm going to say next year, 2025.
I love it. You've heard it here first, folks.
What's the largest fish you've ever caught?
Oh, my son Ryan and I landed around 100-pound wahoo out offshore Galveston, which was quite the trip for tracking it down. Let's just
How
say.
long did that take to pull in?
About 45
Yeah, I bet.
minutes.
Yeah.
You texted us a picture of that.
Yeah,
I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
I think he had a state record, quite frankly. I think we just didn't realize it. We thought he was a lot
I
smaller.
have a lot of photos of the fish you've caught.
Yeah. They're metaphors.
Yeah,
you know.
it's true. Steve, what was your first impression of us?
Oh man, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No,
I was
filter.
I was shocked that you guys didn't look like investment bankers. And I've run across a lot of private equity guys.
Yeah.
We at HCSS for years we would get guys out of private equity that would call us and say, "Hey, are you interested in selling your business? Do you want to take capital? Do you want to do anything?" And we would all Mike and I would each tell them the same thing. No, but if you're ever around Sugar Land, you should stop in and say hi.
Coincidentally, I'm here at your front door.
Until they all started showing up, and then we just quit that.
Yeah.
But I think you guys fit into to our culture really well, and so it's been good.
Yeah, we agree. I always ask a music question, given that I'm a drummer, George is a guitarist. We're in two bands together. Led Zeppelin or George Strait?
I would say George Strait. If you'd asked me Tom Petty or George Strait, it would have been Petty for sure.
Ooh.
But George's a local guy in Texas that made it big.
Yeah.
Favorite Petty song?
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's no such thing. You wrecked me, probably. Yeah.
We play that one.
All the time. Yeah.
A question, rapid fire question for you guys: are you playing at the annual shareholders meeting this year in March?
Our invite's been lost in the mail.
For our viewers and listeners, we have a Thoma Bravo band, and we play at some of our events, our LP meetings, our holiday parties, and we played one year and performed in front of Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still waiting for our second invite.
Yeah, we haven't been invited back.
It's going out to you, Orlando.
Yeah, I knew I messed up that solo.
Exactly.
Steve, your favorite saying? And I think I know what it is, but I want to see if I'm right.
Win the morning, win the day.
Yeah.
Win the morning,
I'm an early riser. I just have this. I do better with routines, and I do better when I'm up early in the morning, and just seems to make my day go better.
Yeah, we agree. All right, well, now that we know El Jefe, nickname, and El Jefe's in the studio with us, I want to thank you so much, buddy, for being here, for doing this with us. You truly are a world-class friend, operator, business partner. We really think the world of you, and we could not ask for more. We're so happy you joined us here today. So thanks for joining me and George. It was fun for us to do this together as well. To learn more about HCSS, visit hcss.com, please. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.